Most people have probably been to a mound site. They are big earth mounds that were made by native tribes hundreds of years ago. There are many of these mounds all over the place. The largest one is in Collinsville, Illinois, and is called Keokia Mound. There were many mound building societies, but the largest were the Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Natchez. These societies were very similar in the way they lived. They had similar language, religious beliefs, and way of governing. All the languages in the southeast were similar to each other except for Biloxi. The Choctaw and Chickasaw languages were both a branch of the Muskogean language. The Natchez language was a Gulf language that was spoken in nowadays Louisiana. The Natchez language was similar to the Choctaw and Chickasaw, unlike the Biloxi. The Biloxi language is an extinct Siouan language. Including language, most native tribes had similar religious beliefs. Most native tribes were also polytheistic, which means they believed in more than one god. Their religions mainly focused around nature. Most of the legends passed down were an attempt to explain something that happened in nature. There were also many ceremonies that were held in order to please the gods or to try communicating with them. Another way they try to communicate with the gods is by taking hallucinogens. Natives would also use animals to represent certain ideas, characteristics, and spirits. All tribes had their own governing system where they sent representatives to tribal councils. These tribal councils are where tribes would meet to discuss trade, war, and sport. Each tribe had their own set of laws and their people had to follow. They also had their own form of executive, legislative, and judicial branch. They elected a governor, chief, chair, or president. The tribal council, which was the legislative branch, passed laws. The tribal court handled disputes between tribal members as well as disputes between members and non-members. Everyone in this society had a role. The men held an important political and religious positions. They also hunted, cleared land, built, fought, and made weapons. The women were in charge of the home. Also, the women farmed, cooked, and made crafts. Women were also in charge of taking care of the children and packing the home when the tribe was about to move. One of the ways the tribes confronted conflict was to play sports. One of the most popular ones they played were called Ishtabul. This game was a way for the tribe to compete without the use of weapons. The point of the game was to throw a ball to the top of a pole and hit a target. The catch is that you had to use the rackets. You cannot touch the ball with your hands. Each tribe had their own unique rackets and would also have their own unique ball. The only two rules were that you couldn't touch the ball and the teams had to have an even number. Anything else was allowed. Ishtabul is an ancient lacrosse but with no rules. Another game they played was called Chunky. This game consisted of a rolling stone and long spear-like poles. The object of the game was to roll a stone and try to land the pole near the stone's final resting place. In Chunky, players would bet some of their possessions, the equivalent of modern-day gambling. Losing was often associated with death, and many people committed suicide after losing most of their possessions. Each tribe had their own ruler or chief. The ruler had the highest power in the whole tribe. They were known to have multiple wives, and when they died, some of his wives and other members of the tribe would be killed and buried with him.